Peace and blessings, y'all, in this corner boxing 24. Good evening, good evening. How's everyone doing this evening? Hope everybody doing pretty good. I'm doing okay on this side. As always, God is great, God is good, and I can't complain. So I just have some afterthoughts about the Canelo Alvarez and John Ryder fight. We know Canelo is coming off of a win-loss or loss-win to Dimitri Bivol last year, and then a win against Golovkin. And then immediately after that, he had wrist surgery because he had a torn ligament in his wrist. John Ryder was 32-5. Now he's 32-6 with 18 knockouts. He was coming off of some wins, and he was on a little high. And now you have to fight Canelo Alvarez, who is the face of boxing, pound for pound, best, or definitely one of the best. Top three, no doubt about it. So Canelo Alvarez knocked John Ryder down 3 times in the fight. His power is real. And John Ryder said himself that this was the first time that he had his nose broken in a fight. He said that the blood was going down his throat. That's how bad it was. And when you looked at him at the press conference, he had this little white piece of tape or Band-Aid on his nose, and he kept touching his nose and his mouth because, it was really bad. And that was from an uppercut. Mike Tyson used to talk about that uppercut and how he used to throw that where you want to push your bone up into your brain, your nose, the bone of your nose up into your brain. Canelo Alvarez hit him with an uppercut and broke his nose. That's power, man. That's real power right there. And then knowing how to throw that punch, man, that's real. He said also, John Ryder, that Canelo is past his best days. Well, you could say that, but at the end of the day, he broke your nose and knocked you down 3 times. Canelo Alvarez said that he feels like for John Ryder, a win was not getting knocked out. And sometimes I don't agree with Canelo Alvarez and some of the things he says and some of the moves that he makes, but I definitely agree with that. I think a win for John Ryder was not to get knocked out. He was going to hold on for dear life. He was going to do whatever he had to do not to get stopped. Unlike Mr. Ryan Garcia, who talked all that crap, and his people talking about how Tank was going to have to go out on a stretcher, De La Hoya and all of them. And he got up at 11, but he couldn't get up at 9. Well, John Ryder was not like that. Dog, tough fighter. He said, man, this dude going to have to really basically, and he didn't say it, but he showed it, that, he's going to have to take me out on a stretcher. He's going to have to knock me cold out. He's going to have to really do me in for me to give up on this fight. He was a tough dude. Big dude, too. John Ryder's a big dude. He got some weight on him, muscle, taller than Canelo. Canelo's only 5'7", man. All that 5'8", man, listen, I don't think he's no 5'8". And if he's 5'8", he's still small for these dudes that he's fighting. Mostly everybody he's fighting is 5'10", 5'11", over 6 feet. So he's a wonder, man. He's a great fighter, one of the best all time right now. And when he retires, absolutely, he'll go down as one of the best fighters all time. Middleweight, super middleweight, absolutely, with all these, with the 4 belts. Like, he's going to go down Mexican history. I say he's the best Mexican fighter all time right now. I don't want to hear nothing about Chavez, because Chavez fought a bunch of nobodies. I looked at his record, fought a bunch of nobodies for his first 20, 30, almost 40 fights. He fought nobodies. And then he ran into Vince Phillips, and he got beat. And then he got a break with Mildred Taylor. He got that fight and shouldn't have got it. And then he got a break with Pernell Whitaker. But we're not going to go into Chavez, right? We're talking about Canelo Alvarez, like I said, one of the greatest fighters all time, Mexican history, and probably the best all time, Mexican history. So I don't know if he still got some lingering issues with that risk, because I know he said that when he's 100%, nobody can beat him. So I don't know if he meant he was 100% for this fight or going forward. He's going to get to 100%. Maybe he's not there yet because he just had the surgery, a few months ago. So maybe he's still, his first fight back. Maybe you can give him a little break. He was still able to, like I said, drop him 3 times. So that's good. But he couldn't stop him. But I think that was a combination of John Ryder not wanting to be stopped and being a tough guy. So you have to put it together sometimes. You don't have to. You're not going to knock everybody out. But usually when you drop somebody, you usually stop them. But sometimes it just don't work. Anyway, Canelo still look good to me. I'm just concerned about his mental state, because he's said in an interview recently that he thought he won the first 5-6 rounds when he fought Dimitri Bivol. That's emphatically non-cipher. He did not win that fight. No first 5-6 rounds. And when Dimitri Bivol was asked of Canelo about his power, he said, yeah, he hurt me in my arms. If you remember, and if you go back and watch the fight, Canelo hit him a lot up here, forearm. He really didn't catch him in the body. He really didn't catch him in the head. Dimitri Bivol didn't stay on the rope like that anyway, but when he was on the rope, which wasn't for long, Canelo really couldn't connect to the body. He couldn't really get an uppercut in there. He wasn't really effective. He couldn't catch him in the jaw, like in the head. He couldn't really do it. Because Dimitri Bivol was pushing him off, and he was throwing punches. He was throwing a lot of punches, and he was moving. He was using the ring, man. He was on his feet, good footwork, and he was throwing a lot of shots. Boom, 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 boom. He had Canelo on the rope throughout that fight. So no, he didn't win the 5-6 rounds. He didn't hurt Bivol. And I think his mindset needs to be, honestly, I didn't win that fight, but I'm going to go back to the drawing board. I'm going to come in with a great game plan. I'm going to beat Bivol. And his trainer should say the same thing. No, you did not beat him. You did not win the rounds in the beginning. You might have won 1 or 2 rounds in that 12-round fight, but you definitely didn't win 5 or 6. You didn't win the first half. You lost. Let's suck it up. Let's move on. Okay? It is what it is. You beat Triple G in that 3rd fight. Now you just fought John Ryder. You beat him. Keep it moving. You've been fighting for a long time, man. Since you was, 14, 15? And now you're 32, going to be 33. You got some mileage on you. You've been in some fights, some close fights as well. Triple G and Lara, been in some close fights. Even Danny Jacobs, man, was a close fight. So you've been in some fights with some big dudes, some strong dudes, some slick boxers. You've seen all the styles. And now, at the end of your career, because you're closer to the end, it's not about making excuses, man. It's just about going out the best way you can. Okay? And I'm just saying, mentally, just be honest with yourself. I think physically, he's still there. Mentally, I think he just got to be honest and move forward. And listen, I think he could beat Bivol, but not like he fought last time, of course. And not too much like how he fought with John Ryder. I think he's going to have to get back to 1, 2, 3, 4 combinations. I think he's going to have to get back to moving his head. You're not really doing that. You didn't really do that with John Ryder too much. Like, he was getting hit with some shots. Go back to your defense, man. Go back to moving your head, bobbing and weaving. Going back, going side to side. Your footwork. Your combinations. Setting up your hook. Setting up your hook off the jab. Your uppercut, your body. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, you got to go back to that. If you're going to beat Bivol, you got to be on point. That's what I'm saying. You're not going to beat him on no average way. So I don't know if John Ryder was a real good test for him to go into that fight. Maybe because of the toughness, I could see that part. But the boxing skills, I don't know. Bivol's on another level. At the end of the day, you went up to 175, you took on a challenge, and you got nothing to be ashamed of, because you're really not a big dude. Middleweight, 168, 160, that's really you. You was at 147, you started, you was at 154 for a little while. You went to 160, and now 168, you're super middleweight champion. Undisputed. So you got nothing to be ashamed of, man. Losing a fight at 175. Against a taller and much bigger dude. So So that's all I really got, man. Peace and blessings, y'all, in this corner boxing 24. Please subscribe to the page. Please leave your comments. Let me know how you feel. Everybody enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace.